Hey guys, welcome back. Suthernsmoke here again from the poll. And so this video is part 2 to the original that I posted about fibroids. What the now? Okay, so this video I'm diving a little more into more of the conversations that I was having with the doctors I've been seeing, and then things that I've read up on or other videos or something that came from other people and how I plan to go through this process. Okay, so I left off in the other video discussing how I went to see my primary. I went to the ER. They tried to play me. Got my primary. She took it seriously. Got me a CAT scan. CT came back, showed a 6 to 7 centimeter ovarian cyst on the right side and a 3.4 centimeter fibroid on top of the uterus. Okay, but can't trust the imaging with CT scans because they're not for that stuff. So ultrasound was ordered. Went to get my pap and all that stuff from my guy. And now I'm coming up on the appointment. Now, let me say this too, because there was a bit of denial when it came through. One, like obviously the CT scan, they're like, we don't really know what's going on here, so we'll just kind of wait and see type of deal, or like, you know, see if it resolves itself because can't really tell. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay. And also, especially when the gynecologist was like, welcome to the majority. I'm just like, it wasn't supposed to be me. Like, this was not supposed to be me. Because one, I take care of my fucking body. All right? I'm plant-based. I'm fit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not filling my body with a bunch of shit. But I will say, is it, you know, I kind of went through the spectrum of like, okay, did I do this to myself? Because I will say over the last year and a half or so, I did start introducing things back into my diet. So I wasn't eating eggs. I still don't really do dairy. It's probably something I just won't do unless I'm in a different country. And then I read, you know, the Quran during Ramadan last year and just had, you know, a lot of things spiritually going on. And I was like, okay, you're not supposed to put undue hardship on yourself. So, you know, if it's kosher or halal meat within the U.S., maybe I'll eat it. I'm more likely to eat meat outside of the U.S. just because the practices and stuff are way better. So, you know, every now and again, I may get some lamb or something if it's from a halal restaurant or whatever. But I'm not doing it super often, right? But I did start eating eggs way more, which is stupid because I don't eat chicken. Chicken is the dirty fucking bird. And honestly, chicken is what I think kind of started a lot of this stuff and why I went into vegetarianism, then to veganism. Because it just used to cause so much fucking pain in my body. And when I stopped eating it, I realized like I felt so much better. And that anytime I would try to introduce it back, whether it was grilled or fried or whatever the hell, I felt weird. Like it just, I felt inflamed. I was having pains, and then, you know, just kind of felt like an allergic reaction, so I cut chicken out. And I had other people, friends and stuff, who were posting about the same thing on Instagram or Facebook, that they were doing something similar. So I'm like, there's something to it. Chicken, not great. They're always pumping it full of hormones. It's cloned. It's in terrible environments. Why am I eating the babies? Why am I eating the damn period chicken shit? Okay. So I was just like, damn, did I do it to myself? Because I started eating like processed snacks a bunch, you know, a lot more, even though they're like vegan. It's still processed foods. So Costco has these chickpea chips, or at least they used to, from Hippies. They had big ass bags. Bruh, I was eating those mugs almost every day. I started going to Whole Foods and getting like the vegan like brownies. First of all, the brownies are like this fucking big. 4 squares of brownies this fucking big. Fudgy, chocolate, bomb as hell. Then they got these cupcakes there. You know, so I just started eating that stuff a little more. And I wasn't eating sweets at all. So I'm like, damn, did I do this to myself? Because I've been introducing all these things back into my body that I specifically cut out for this fucking reason. And then at the beginning of this year, back in January, I'm not one to do like goals or whatever, New Year resolutions, but spiritually, I felt like I was getting some type of intuition from God and just, you know, my body, the strong pull of like, you need to cut out eating the chocolate. You need to stop eating the chocolate. There was probably a reason my body was telling me that, because I knew this shit was growing inside and, you know, there was some shit going on here and I needed to not feed it and fuel it. Yeah, because if you look up like, let's see, like what feeds fibroids. So, hormones. Estrogen and progesterone are the primary hormones that feed fibroids. They stimulate their growth and their proliferation. And then inflammation. So, dietary factors. While no definitive scientific evidence supports this for triggers, studies have suggested certain foods may promote their growth. Processed foods, high in unhealthy fats, sodium and sugar. Refined carbohydrates, white bread, pasta, and rice. And I have started eating a bunch of rice again. And I was eating a bunch of bread. Actually, I've started eating all this shit again. Red meat, which wasn't really doing too much. Dairy products contain estrogen-like compounds. Sugary drinks increase blood sugar levels, which can stimulate hormone production. The red meat said it contains high levels of saturated fat. Other factors, obesity, alcohol consumption, and vitamin A deficiency. Okay, I don't drink alcohol anymore. There were a few times throughout the year last year that I would like sip a little bit of something, but that's just like a whole separate conversation. Maybe I'll do a video on that and how alcohol affects your mental health, your spiritual well-being, why I've decided to cut it out, because I was in a very low vibrational state doing that stuff. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, shit, I've been eating more processed foods. I've been having these refined carbs, you know, and it's like, fuck, did I do this to myself? Or, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, you just kind of go through the spiral and it's like, damn, but it's too late now. You know, it is what it is. It's about, you know, whatever. So, and again, being in a stress-induced environment. And I also believe like God tends to test you on things that you like to advise other people about. And you go hard and strong about it. So there was somebody in my life who had a huge fibroid, and I was just like, go the plant-based route, like do natural stuff, take these herbs, like blah, blah, blah. And they ended up getting a hysterectomy because they just wanted to get rid of the pain and the periods that were whatever, which I was disappointed about, but obviously like, well, that's their body, that's their life. You know, I can't control the people. So lo and behold, here the fuck we are. God's like, walk the talk, okay? Because I was like, it's not supposed to be me. And my partner was like, well, maybe that's the point. Maybe it is supposed to be you. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I know it is supposed to be me because I need to share the story and I actually need to do the shit that I was trying to tell somebody else to do, right? If I believe in natural healing and natural route, that's what I need to do. That's where I need to go, okay? But that being said, now I try to mind my own damn business because you're not gonna keep getting me, okay? So I went in for what I thought was supposed to be the appointment for the ultrasound. So this other gynecologist comes in and unprofessional as fuck. I'm going to report this lady. Let me know if I should call her out in these videos, but I'm going to report her because she was unprofessional. She already had like a disposition when she walked in. She didn't give a fuck, and she was very dismissive. So she walked in, took her for fucking ever because I was waiting for like almost an hour, and I'm like, why is this taking so fucking long? It's supposed to be an ultrasound. So she's coming in, asking me like, what do you understand about it so far, blah, blah, blah. She didn't even have a chart with her. She didn't even look at the notes that the nurse had asked me. And she literally pulled out a Post-it note from her fucking pocket that had like 3 notes jotted down about the fibroid and the cyst, and it was crumpled up, okay? And she was like, oh, like, you know, let me, are you serious? The fuck? You can't even come in here with my actual chart, my actual information. You had to write this shit down on a fucking Post-it note, like I'm an afterthought. So she was like, yeah, you know, the fibroid, you know, it's very common, it's natural for a certain demographic to have these things happen. So, you know, and then like literally went like this to me. Bitch, I know what you're saying. Come out and fucking say like black women are known to get it. You know what I'm saying? But don't act like the shit's normal because it's not normal. This shit is not normal, and that's what fucking blows me. But anyway, so yeah, she was just like, yeah, you know, there's nothing really to do now about it. Like, you're young, you're 33, like just put it on the shelf. Just put it on the shelf, you know. You could just say like, oh, this is a thing that happened, 33 years old with a fibroid. Just put it on the shelf, put it on the shelf. And I'm just sitting there looking at her like, the fuck? So at this point, I already knew, like, I kind of shut down. And I probably had a fucking attitude at this point. I was probably looking at her like she was crazy because it's like, you're being so fucking dismissive of shit that's actually serious and telling me to put some shit on a shelf and not to worry about it. is not going to make me want to talk to you. So in my mind at that point, I'm like, well, I'm not asking you any fucking question about this shit because clearly you don't care. And she was just kind of like, you know, don't worry about it now. Like, you know, in the future, you know, probably going to be more of them. So like when that happens at that point, then, you know, you can talk to the doctor about like options and stuff to do. And she's like, unless, you know, you're trying to actively conceive a child at that point, you know, maybe looking more closely into it to make sure there's nothing with fertility issues there. But, you know, like I said, you're young. It's only one. Just put it on the shelf. I'm like, this bitch says put it on the shelf one more fucking time. So then she was like, oh, the cyst, though. I'm actually more worried about that because it's larger. You know, it's like 6 centimeters. Because when she was talking about the fibroid, she was like, yeah, it's like this big. Bitch, you act like that's something small inside the body. You know how fucking big that is? And then I don't know if she said the cyst was like the size of a grapefruit. Some fucking shit. I don't know. But she was like, you know, don't really know what's going on with it right now. The ultrasound will help. Then I was like, am I not getting the ultrasound today? And she's like, oh no, you know, blah, blah. So then she got me booked in for the next day. So do the ultrasound. The lab tech is super cool. But the hospital was acting like they couldn't fucking get the imaging together. So that was a whole fucking thing. But anyway, I'm waiting like essentially an hour for this lady again after the fact. I hear the nurse in the hallway talking to her about how like, oh, you remember the girl from yesterday with the fibroids and the cyst? Yeah, she's waiting for you in the room. Like she's been fucking waiting for you in the room. So she comes in like 5-10 minutes later after that. And then again, doesn't have a fucking chart in her hand, doesn't have anything. She's like, oh yeah, so how did it go? How was it? And I'm like, you got the results. You're telling me how it went. And she's like, oh, well, the physicality of it. I'm like, bro, it was fine. Like, what's going on? So, cause she was like, well, you know, like, I got the, you know, she got the measurements and stuff of it and blah, blah, blah. Cause she had like a printed out paper with like all the dimensions and the measurements, not the imaging of itself, but just the dimensions of everything that's going on. So essentially 3 fibroids total, small. And then, the cyst. So the fibroids, again, she was brushing the shit off and was just like, nothing to be worried about. Like, you know, and she was like, you know, with the cyst, there's a few things that we look at because it could, if it's fluid filled, it's like the type of fluid. Is it blood? Is it some other stuff? And she's like, it could be a chocolate cyst, which is essentially like the endometrium growing inside where, you know, whatever, like the follicle, and that creates a cyst. And then she was like, and then obviously the ones that have like the hair, like the harder ones and stuff like that. And she's like, apparently it looks like it's fluid filled. She's like, but I couldn't pull it up. Like the computer wasn't working, so I didn't actually look at it. So I'm talking to her and I'm like, okay, so like, what did it actually say? What does it look like inside the damn cyst? Like, what kind of fluid is it? Is it fine? Like, how the fuck are you gonna come in here and have a talk with me about what happened after the fact, but you're not giving me the information to let me know what's happening? And so she was just like, oh, okay, well, let me just go try to print it out. Let me go try to pull it up. So she leaves for 10 minutes, comes back, and then she's like, okay, yeah, I looked at it and doesn't look like there's anything there. She's like, but, you know, you've had time to wrap your head around this with, you know, back in July, them doing the CT scan, and to now it's been like almost 2 months. So she's like, because it's so big, like, you don't want it rupturing, and, you know, and sometimes I see that they twist around themselves and stuff like that. So, you know, surgery, laparoscopic surgery would be the next bet, because, you know, it hasn't changed from 2 months ago and it's not going to get better. So you just should get surgery. And I was like, well, surgery's not going to be my first fucking option. So she was like, well, you can just, you know, monitor it and get another ultrasound in 6 weeks. But after that, surgery. Just looking at this bitch like, are you fucking serious? So I was like, well, that aside, I'm more concerned about the fibroids. And she was like, really? Bitch, it's more than we thought. And yeah, and so she was like, well, I can't tell. Like, we knew there was the one on top of the uterus. The other two, it doesn't look like they're inside the uterine lining, which would then be cause for concern with fertility. She was like, I can't really tell, but, you know, like, not to be dismissive, but I just, you know, it's not anything I would worry about until you're actively trying to conceive. So I said, there's nothing to do to be proactive about it. And she was just like, no. And I was just like, okay, well, can you send this shit to my actual gynecologist? And she's like, had one? We talked about this yesterday. And she was like, oh, you've been having me think about Pilates since our talk. And I was just like, okay. So I recorded that fucking conversation. I should have recorded the first damn conversation when she kept telling me to put shit on the shelf. Because I was just like, is this bitch serious? So anyway, as someone who is plant-based, I'm going to go with the Alkaline Herbal Medicine by Akil Anise. So he actually has, and these are all based on stuff that Dr. Sebi talked about. And so there is an actual page in here that talks about herbs and roots for uterine support, anti-fibroid. Okay, so this combination nourishes the female endocrine system and supports estrogen balance. Hormonal imbalance is the primary reason for development of fibroids. So, Damiana, buzz down, Damiana, buzz down, Damiana. All right, bloop. That's what we have here. I ordered some. This is the main thing that will address the fibroids itself. So, balances hormones to shrink fibroids. Then we have our sarsaparilla, which increases sexual desire, but it also has other other herbal things that happen with it. I'll look that up in a minute. And then I got our bladder rack. Anti-estrogenic effects lower the risk of estrogen-dependent diseases, which fibroids fall into that category. Cysts can too. There's 2 more things. Hydrangea, which comes tomorrow. Anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, dissolves calcium deposits in soft tissue. And then Irish sea moss, which supports connective tissue in the vagina. So this book, the Find Guru, when I looked up her page a while ago, she had these things going on and was talking about she mixed everything together. So I will be starting my journey. I'm gonna start off with the Damiana first, just to see how my body reacts to that by itself. And then I'm gonna make teas where I'm mixing them all 3 together, or all 4 or 5 of these things together, to keep track of like what's going on. And we're gonna pray that it works and that things will be shrunk. But if you guys have any natural remedies and stuff like that, let me know what's worked, what hasn't worked for you. And yeah, look forward to sharing more of this journey. I will make another video in a minute talking about these specifically because this video got pretty long and I need to go to a class for flexibility. So I will see you all later. Like, share, and subscribe.